So let's get into a little video about nutrition for strength. When you're looking to gain some strength or put on a little bit of muscle mass, what we have to understand is multifactorial. So it's not just a case of, right, I'm just going to jack my calories up, eat a little bit more, and all of a sudden I'm just going to put on to 2, 3, 4 kilos of muscle. As you can see by the diagram here, there's multiple different things that we need to kind of look at. When we're looking at fat loss, nutrition is probably the primary kind of driver that we need to kind of look at. We need to look at that calorie deficit. We need to look at the calorie balance. And if we get that right, then, with all other things being consistent, we can lose body fat. For strength, one of the key areas is the stimulus for adaptation. So what we need to ensure is that we have the right type of stimulus going into our bodies, because our muscles will respond to the stimulus that we put through them. So if you're doing, long marathon training, then you're probably not going to be, putting the right stimulus in to increase your muscle mass. Whereas if we can do CrossFit, or wherever we can do kind of bodybuilding, or we can do certain kind of, like targeted strength work, calisthenics, gymnastics, stuff like this, then we are going to be providing our body with that stimulus for adaptation. So it's a really, really important thing to make sure that your training is set up to help your goals of gaining a little bit of strength and muscle mass. Now, from a nutrition point of view, we definitely need to be thinking about putting ourselves into a calorie surplus. And that's purely we just need to provide the fuel for our body to grow. Like, if you don't, provide the building blocks, then how will we expect to get, bigger, stronger, faster, more powerful? So creating a calorie surplus at specific times is essential. That kind of leads into a positive protein balance here. So when we talk about positive protein balance, we talk about making sure that we don't go long periods without eating, making sure that we have regular feedings over the day, basically to drip feed our muscles and allow our body to repair, regenerate, and grow. Sleep is always one of the biggest things that we need to kind of be having as a primary area of focus, whether that's fat loss, whether that's strength, whether that's just general well-being and overall energy levels. We won't touch on too much today about sleep, but making sure that you can get a good quality and as much quantity as your kind of schedule allows is essential. Like growth hormone is spiked in the first half an hour of sleep, and it's where we repair and we regenerate. So if you can at weekends, or if you work from home, you can kind of stick the laptop on and kind of log into your thing. If you can sneak a little nap in every now and then, that's a really, really great way to just help that kind of repair and regeneration, and you will see in kind of really good accelerated results if you can do that. If you can't, don't worry about it. Eat the rainbow, and this comes down to something that we put in and with all of our plans, and it's about food quality. We don't advocate kind of dirty bulking or just eating whatever you want. Like, it's not an if it fits your macros. So the quality of food is going to help you in terms of gaining muscle mass, in terms of helping your energy levels, helping your recovery. So often the case is that we need to be thinking about, yes, it's all well and good kind of, fueling our sessions, but actually the quicker that we can recover, the more, quality sessions that we can put in, and the better stimulus that we can put into our bodies to allow our body to gain muscle and gain strength. And this kind of leads into this last one, the anabolic environment. And, this is kind of multifactorial, where we don't want to be going into kind of too many sessions in a fasted state. We don't want to be doing long aerobic work, that's going to kind of create that calorie deficit and prevent us from kind of gaining muscle mass. We will, this is talking about kind of testosterone, cortisol levels, like what we want to be doing is thinking, what can we do to set our, whole nutrition plan up to allow our body to be anabolic as opposed to catabolic. So a couple of things that we need to kind of focus on are, let me just come down here. So muscles respond to the stimulus and a calorie surplus. So again, it doesn't need to be a large calorie surplus, but it does need to be a surplus to your output. So we need to fuel for function. So if you're doing one session a day, or if you're doing 2 sessions a day, then you need to be thinking about, right, I need to look at my calorie intake, look at my, the amount of output that I'm doing, and make, adjustments based on progress. So we need to be in that calorie surplus. positive protein balance, regular feedings over the day. We advocate as a starting point 5 meals a day plus a recovery shake. So that'd be like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then kind of 2 snacks and a recovery shake. This allows you to basically set up your nutrition plan over the day, eat kind of every 2 to 3 hours, and ensure that you are in that fed state for most of the day. Again, this minimizes those fasted kind of times, and so we are constantly in that fed state and allowing our body to be anabolic as opposed to catabolic. We will ask you to minimize or like fasted sessions or long steady state aerobic training. So when you're looking at muscle mass, like one of my kind of things that I say to clients is, you got one arse, you can sit on one horse. Like if you want to be like this super endurance like athlete, and you want to be super strong and you want to be lean and you want to be jacked, like it's not going to happen. Like you need to be thinking about kind of like setting your nutrition plan up and having a primary goal. Like putting on strength and putting on muscle is a tough process. Like prepared that you are going to put on a little bit of body fat. You might put on a little bit of weight. So just being aware that that's going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. Is often the cases where we get in maybe 2-3 weeks into a strength program and a nutrition program, and people feel that a little bit soft, a little bit heavier, and they don't like it. So then they restrict their calories, and that's often the case in terms of why why people kind of really don't make progress in terms of their strength and their strength and muscle building setup. So committing to the process and being aware that you will put on that bit of body fat is a really, really kind of mental thing that you need to kind of get over, a mental hurdle that you need to get over. And be prepared that it will take time. Fat loss can happen relatively quickly if you kind of get everything right, and depending on your starting point. Strength and muscle actually takes a lot longer. It can be a little bit frustrating. There'll be times where you feel a little bit beat up, where you feel like you're not making progress. But it's a bit of a longer road, so you just having to be prepared that that is going to be the case. So our system is kind of fourfold, really. Like the biggest thing that you need to be doing is thinking about hitting overall calories first. Okay, so regardless of carbs, fats, it doesn't matter too much in the initial stages. You need that calorie balance. Like there's research out there that you can build, muscle on a higher fat diet. There's research out there you can build it on a higher carb diet. So it's all to do with your personal preference, but also just making sure that you hit that calorie target. And once you have that on a consistent basis, then you can start to increase your meal frequency. So 5 meals a day plus a shake is probably a little bit more than maybe a lot of people are eating at the moment. If you feel that you're still losing weight, or you're not kind of gaining weight, or you feel that your performance isn't quite there, then add a little bit more on. So you can add an extra meal in. So if you're having breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, mid-afternoon snack, post-workout shake, dinner, then the next one to be added in is a pre-bed snack. So that'll be 6 meals and a shake. So we want to be increasing that meal frequency before we start to increase meal size. Okay, so the body can only digest a certain amount of food at a time. So if you're eating 3 meals a day and you just jack those meals up to be kind of like 1,200 calories each, like your body is going to struggle to digest that. So once you have the meal frequency, then you can start to increase the meal size. And what often the case is this is around the kind of like 2, 3, 4 week mark. And we often see that your metabolism and that kind of hunger levels start to increase. Like as you start to train a little bit harder, your training energy goes up. You're feeding your body the right nutrients. You've got your meal timings correct, so you're going into training sessions in a fed state. Then that's your kind of signal to increase your meal size. But your body will tell you this. Like we see it all the times that at the start, like people feel really full, and then like 2, 3, 4 weeks in, they're like, yeah, actually, I'm now hungry after my meals, or I get hungry before my meals earlier. So this is the time to listen to your body and start to increase the meal size. And then we can start to kind of add supplementation in. So some of the most bang for your buck supplements that we can talk about are creatine, beta alanine, fish oils, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium. These are the kind of nutrients that are really kind of been proven in the research to help you become anabolic, help you to put on a bit of muscle mass, and improve your strength and recovery. So they're the ones to kind of focus on at the start, and then any other kind of little bits and pieces would just be based on your personal kind of setup. So hopefully that system allows you to kind of, a bit of a pathway to follow, and if you do it in the correct way, I guarantee that your training performance and your muscle mass and strength will start to improve. But again, it's a bit of a process. So ensure that you are looking at your training response. So here is a bit of a diagram that we can talk about, like, again, just to touch and finish on that stimulus. So if you're not putting the stimulus in here, like, you're under training, you're not putting enough of the right amount of work to create that stimulus, to create that demand. So then when we put that much food in, then we build muscle and strength. What we're looking for is acute overload and a little bit of overreaching. So we need to push our body. We need to be in that state of like, okay, look, I feel a little bit beat up, or I need that kind of recovery day, because my muscles are sore. And when we've overreached, we allow that recovery, and that's how we improve our strength, improve our kind of power output, and we put on a bit of muscle mass. If we're trying to beat the drum too much, then we can go into this overtraining, or kind of under recovering is probably a better term that kind of has been bandied about a little bit more recently. And there's so many different kind of like signs and symptoms, which we won't touch on in this video, but we will do in future ones. So we want to be looking at that kind of acute and overload for most of the time, overreaching a few times, just to make sure that we have that stimulus there. So, when we're looking at kind of setting up your whole week, often the case is people will come to us and say, like, should I be eating less on a rest day? Should I be eating more on a double training day? Like, what we want to do is kind of just at the start, again, hit the overall calories, but keep it very, very simple. So we often put a 1 calorie load in, for every single day. So it doesn't matter if you train once a day, in the morning or in the evening, or if it's a rest day. We actually want to keep your intake high, because that's the time that we can, like, repair and regenerate. So we actually don't call it a rest day when it's a strength setup. We call it a growth day. So this is the time that you allow your body to grow. And often in case our clients and members will say, I'm actually hungrier on a rest day. So listen to your body and fuel the tank. So hopefully that's been really helpful in terms of giving you a bit of a pathway, a bit of a starting point, and some areas to focus on. So, as long as you're looking at, these kind of like areas to focus on, following the pathway, you will hopefully be on the road to put on a bit of strength and muscle mass.